Ever since the last Heritage Edition Defenders rolled off the production line 2 years ago, we've been waiting on tenterhooks for a new one. And now we have one. Here it is. It's not quite what we were expecting. It's not actually new, but it has got a V8 under the bonnet. So let's go for a drive. You parked in a puddle. Oh, that's right, I did.
The Defender Works V8 is a limited edition run of 150 cars to celebrate Land Rover's 70th birthday. It is being produced here, in the new Jaguar Land Rover Classic Workshop, where they also service XJ220s, build new XK-SSs and recondition Series 1s. It's important to point out that these are not new vehicles, however. Land Rover has been busy buying up good, low-mileage, late examples of 90 and 110 Defenders from the last 4 years of production to convert to this V8 spec. And what does that transformation involve? Well, the engine is a naturally aspirated 5-litre V8, putting out 399 brake horsepower and 380 pounds-foot of torque through a ZF 8-speed. The springs, dampers, anti-roll bars and brakes have thankfully all been uprated accordingly. There are new LED headlights front and rear. The door handles are machined from billet aluminium. There is a full leather trim interior, and a newly launched DAB classic radio with Bluetooth and sat-nav has been installed. But what does it feel like when you're perched up high and travelling down the road behind that V8?
There is something gloriously silly about a Defender with a V8 in it. In some ways I'm not sure quite what to think about it, because to me Defenders, the lovely thing is that you enjoy going slowly in them, and this is not slow. Having said that, don't be confused, this has not become a sports car. It seems really pretty ludicrous giving a car like this, a chassis like this, that sort of engine. It's a bit like, I don't know, imagining a Spitfire with a Tornado's jet engine on it or something like that. Defenders are frankly terrifying things to try and drive quickly to start with, because you've got so much sort of steering lock, and the tyres, even though this is on 18-inch wheels, the first time that a Defender has come fitted as standard with 18-inch wheels, there's a lot going on at the tread blocks. I've actually rallied a Defender in the past, and you need to be positive with them. You need to get actually through that first initial roll and onto the springs so that you can lean on them and get some sort of idea about what the chassis is doing. But this is not really a car to try and hustle, particularly a short wheelbase 90. The 110 might be a little bit better, I suspect. And in fact, I think that's the one I would go for. I'm so used to driving Defenders with manuals, it seems very odd having an auto in here, but the 8-speed actually works very well, and it's quite nice just using the lever to change up and down the box if you put it across into sport. Obviously all the ergonomics in here are just what you'd expect, because this is still a Defender. It's a reconditioned, recently built Defender. So you've got the upright screen, you've got this that's right here, ready to skin your knuckles, and it still feels like a precarious treehouse blowing around in the storm when you first try and corner it. But there's an awful lot of leather in here. They've worked really hard to try and make it more of a habitable place, and I have to say, I think really you just want to enjoy the fact that you've got a lot of torque and a lot of power, so that on the motorway, on a longer journey, you might actually be a bit more comfortable. And I think that's why it hasn't been made as loud as it possibly could be. This is something actually you probably could do quite a few miles in. Indeed, apparently when they were developing these, they took a couple of prototypes all the way down to Morocco, hitched up with trailers behind. That's not something you try and do in a Defender lightly.
Perhaps the biggest selling point of this Defender then is, curiously, its improved refinement. But in case you're wondering, the claimed performance figures of a 90 station wagon like this are 106 miles an hour flat out and 0 to 60 miles an hour in 5.6 seconds. And if that sounds a bit tame, then the reality is anything but.
So, 400 brake horsepower, 399. About 60 miles an hour. 5.6 seconds. That's so silly.
At the end of the day, the Defender Works V8 is a bit silly, but also quite fun. To be witness to it doing a standing start is akin to being an innocent young child seeing a parent drunk on tequila and dancing wildly to Daft Punk in the kitchen. The sheer bemusement that something that old could behave in that way. The only trouble is that this bit of limited edition fun costs £150,000. That's over £40,000 more than a Range Rover Autobiography with a supercharged V8. It's even more expensive than an AMG G-Wagon. This then will not be a rational purchase. But then, it's not a very rational vehicle.